Do you know the sneaky trick that lawyers use to get you to tell the truth? It's called the loaded question. And I'll show you how your kids can respond when adults use it to get them to disclose info about you. Let's go. Many parents don't realize this, but it's almost as if everything your kid knows about you is in his backpack when he leaves the house. If a kid gets caught off guard by a trick question, he may start talking too much if he doesn't realize the underlying motive of the question. Adults outside of your home could use your kids to meddle all in your business if you haven't taught them what actions to take when faced with a trick question. If this is still a difficult concept for you after I explain it, imagine how vulnerable kids are when adults do this. So, basically, the loaded question is loaded with an assumption. Let's say a lawyer asks Tom Cruise the following. Tom, have you stopped beating up your neighbor, John? Now watch this. I'm going to show you how the lawyer started the race from the finish line. If Tom answers yes or no to that question without even realizing it, he's admitted two things. Number one, he'll have admitted to knowing John. And number two, he'll have admitted to beating him up in the past. Now, if the lawyer started the race from the correct starting point, he would have said, Yo, Tom, do you know John and have you ever beaten him up? So the loaded question is powerful. It gets grown-ass adults to admit things without them realizing it. And it has the same effect on kids. But I want kids to have that peep game so they can nip it in the bud right when it happens. Let me show you how. Let's say your son Luke has a friend whose father is a doctor named Jeff. Jeff peeps out of his curtains from his $1 million mansion each morning watching you water your grass. You don't even realize it, but this neighbor has an issue with you, and he's trying to figure you out. Jeff is driving himself insane because he just can't understand how a person like you could afford to live in the same neighborhood that he does. He feels entitled to knowing your personal business. In other words, Jeff is nosy AF, but he can't ask you directly because you would set a boundary with him. So he goes the easy route for your kid Luke, not realizing that Luke is about to shut his ass down like Blockbuster Video. Dr. Jeff tries to gain Luke's trust by taking him to the park and buying him an ice cream cone. Got you some ice cream. Whew, rent is so high these days. By the way, Luke, how much does your mom pay for rent? Now, before I show you how Luke responds to Jeff, be honest with me. Did you catch the loaded question? In case you didn't, Jeff asked him, how much does your mom pay for rent? Which has two assumptions. One, it assumes that she pays rent and not a mortgage. Two, it assumes that she pays the bill and not someone else like a boyfriend or her parents. Now here comes the part you've been waiting for. Check out this kid's gangster response to Jeff's question. Yeah, rent is high these days, but I can't remember if my mom pays rent or if she has a mortgage. I'm gonna call my mommy and let her know you have a question for her. No, man. You don't have to tell your mom. I was just wondering. Oh, okay. Let me know if you want me to talk to her. This ice cream is delicious, Jeff. The way the cream and the strawberries blend. You have outdone yourself. Believe it or not, my crackhead stepdad taught us how to handle nosy-ass adults. And if he didn't, I probably would have crumbled in this same situation. As a kid, I always felt like I had to tell adults the truth whenever they asked me a question. And if I was withholding information, in my mind, that was the same thing as lying. And this was such a self-esteem booster for me as a kid because we're so used to our parents protecting us, but being hip to trick questions made me feel like I was protecting my parents. And think about how kids feel when they give out their parents' info by mistake. They feel stupid because someone fooled them, and then they feel guilt because they say, I'm the reason that my parents' business is out in the streets. So plan ahead and teach your kids how to respond to this loaded question so they don't feel guilt from being fooled by someone. Check out my warrior guide and empower your kids to effectively respond to toxic-ass adults outside of the home. Period.